All right. The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. First off, I have to say that this book, I'm not its target audience at all. A 26-year-old guy. It's not really meant for me, but it was a suggestion from my little sister, and so that's why I read it. And I realized after I read it that it's an extremely popular book, especially with all the TikTokers and the TikTackers and the Snapchatters and Instagrammers. Oh, no, I'm just going to look old saying it like that. But all the TikTokers, it's extremely like a popular book. And it had a lot of hype. I didn't realize it had a lot of hype. I just read it because my sister said that it was a good book, or she really enjoyed it in high school. And so I thought it was okay. Not gonna lie, I can see why it has a lot of hype. It is well written. It's an gripping tale or retelling of the Iliad, or part of the Iliad, when it comes to the relationship between Patroclus. We're gonna go with Patroclus and Achilles, and why their bond or why their relationship was so close. Trying to explain that. And it does that well. It definitely brings these two opposite characters, or completely different characters, together, and you can see why they have this intense relationship that in the Iliad is just a brotherly relationship, but then in this book it goes a little more deeper, and that's what it is. It's basically just a romance story between these two boys. And for me, I have to say, there are some parts of the book where it's a little uncomfortable. I don't know how else to say that. It's just like, it's not something that I'm not one to read romantic books. I can see, or I enjoy them when they're put into a story to help develop characters, but when it just focuses on that and it's just chapters and chapters focused on their relationship, it's not, I don't know, it's not really my thing. And so for me, it wasn't that enjoyable, but I can see why it is extremely popular. And I think it is a interesting understanding of this really old story, right? It's different modern take towards it. And I would say that she did a really good job, Madeline Miller, on creating the story or bringing you into the story. I can't say that she did anything crazy. It was a theory it's a very popular theory that these two boys were in a relationship a lot deeper than just friends. However, she didn't really do anything crazy. She played it pretty safe, I think, when it comes to how she interpreted the Iliad, or how her take on this story is. And so, I think it's a safe story, and because of that, it's pretty safe, and it's pretty known. It's not going to ruffle, many feathers, in a sense of, there's no way that Homer meant that when he wrote the Iliad the first time, sort of thing. And so, because of that, I would have to give the plot, I think, a 6.5. It's a solid plot. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't think it's amazing. You know the story. There's no new things. She didn't go on a limb and try to create something completely different. And so because of that, it's a solid story. And for that, it's a 6.5. And then when it comes to the characters, I gave it a 5.2 or a 5.1. I think it's average. I think the description of the characters and their relationship between each other is solid. However, the dialogue is okay at best. I don't think it's special. I don't think it's that crazy. It's definitely modernized. However, it didn't really bring me in. I didn't really feel like, I can really feel for these characters. And maybe that's because I know how the Iliad ends. And so nothing really was surprising in this story at all. And so maybe because of that, it was hard for me to feel for the characters because I know how the story goes. However, I would have to say the dialogue sometimes pulled me out a little bit more. Outside of that, the rest of the word usage and how it flows and everything, it's beautiful. But the dialogue was a little bit rough. So 5.1 for characters. And the world is a 6. I think the world, of course, it's the Iliad. You're mainly focusing on Achilles and where he grows up, and then Patroclus when he visits or when he finally goes to this island or this country that Achilles' dad owns. And that's cool. And you learn about this world. You're not really going all over the place. You go from one island to the next, a few kingdoms. It's not crazy like the Iliad. It's not crazy like the Odyssey, where you're going through culture after culture, country after country, kingdom after kingdom. But it's mostly just sticks with this one kingdom of Achilles, or wherever he lives. Actually, I don't know. yeah, anyways, you know what I'm saying? It really just sticks at this one place and that culture, and that's basically it. So you're not learning much about the world, but it describes it well, especially this training that these two boys go through from Chiron the centaur, or Chiron maybe? That probably sounds a little better. Their training and how they're growing. This is pretty cool. But yeah, outside of that, it's pretty standard. It doesn't explore so much, and so I would say a 6. World is a 6. And so lastly, my enjoyment, I would have to say it's a 3.9 or 3.8. I just think it's not meant for me. It's not the stories I like to read necessarily. It doesn't really have anything that brought me into the book. I read it just purely because my sister recommended it, and I finished it because she finishes the books I recommend, so it was just the good thing to do. But it was difficult to finish. I just didn't really, it was nothing that kept me reading for me personally. And I think if you're not someone that likes romantic books or romances, you're not going to enjoy this. There is fighting, there is other politics and things like this, but it is not the main stage at all. But it is the relationship between these two boys and how they go to the ends of the earth for each other. And this, I will do anything for this person. And that is what this book is about, and that's it. So if you are not into romances or romantic novels, then yeah, this is not for you. And it wasn't for me. I don't know how else to say that. I can definitely see how this book is super popular. And I don't think it's really for the obvious reasons, actually. It's a romantic novel. And so of course that always gets a certain demographic really excited because that's interesting to them. Not for me. However, I do think it's a little bit more of an underlying reason why this book is exciting, I think why it became so popular. And I think this quote helps explain it a little bit. All right, so this quote is a little bit in the beginning, and it's the start of the relationship between, or like when they first get to know each other, between Achilles and Patroclus. And it goes, "Or you could have lied, said you found him dead already. I stared at him, stunned by the simplicity of it. I could have lied, and then the revelation that followed, if I had lied, I would still be a prince. It was not murder that exiled me. It was my lack of cunning. I understood now the disgust in my father's eyes, his moron son confessing all. I recalled how his jaw had hardened as I spoke. He does not deserve to be a king." So this, I think, shows well these two boys living up to the expectation of their father's standard that was placed on them, and how they basically, one fulfills or tries to fulfill this expectation to his best or to best ability, and the other one runs from it or doesn't fulfill. And instead of focusing on this, they focus on each other and just trying to be happy. And I think that's why it makes it so popular. It's a lot of people don't want to live with expectation, live with a standard placed on them, having responsibility. It's not an exciting thing. And so instead of doing that, you just want to run away from it all and just enjoy and be happy and be free in love. And that's basically what this book is, I guess, trying to bring out, this relationship between Patroclus and Achilles, where they'll drop everything, all their responsibilities, just to be with each other. And for many people, that's attractive. And many people really want that or have this desire. I think it is, and that's why it is for young adults, because it is a very young adult, or I don't want to say childish or immature. Maybe immature is the best kind of desire, because it is something that you, when you get older, realize you can't do as much. And it becomes a little bit silly when people do it. But they're like 14, 15, or 10 when they meet in this book. And so, yeah, they're young, they're free, they want to do whatever. And that for many people is, that's what I want to do when I'm young. I don't want to live because my parents tell me to do this and tell me to do that. And I think that's why it's so popular in the young adult, or especially this age group, where you're trying to figure out what you want in life and figure out where you stand and what you want to achieve. And most of it all, you just want to be happy and you just want to be loved. And so that's why this book, I think, became so popular, is because it draws on that emotion and that desire that people have. But yeah, the Song of Achilles, extremely popular. Almost every teenage girl on this side of the world has probably read it at this point now. And I can see how in the future it will probably be in schools and how probably you'll have to read it for English class. And so for all the guys that are maybe not into this stuff, it's going to be a little bit painful. But then I think for everyone else that is, they're going to enjoy it a lot. But yeah, the Song of Achilles, if you've read it, what do you think of it?